Jim Schwartz has reportedly been requested to interview for the Baltimore head coaching job. Well, now Adam Schefter just tweeting this out. It involves the Browns. While the Falcons announced an official interview with former Ravens head coach John Harbaugh, he had already has been conducting preliminary and extensive phone calls with the Giants, Titans, Browns, Raiders, and Cardinals, per sources. He's trying to determine who to meet with later this week and into next week before making a decision. He fully expects to be a head coach in 2026.
On this, John Harbaugh's not coming to Cleveland, guys. Now, having said that, I do think there's merit in reaching out for an interview, but probably not for the reasons that you think. Somebody who knows what they're doing needs to be honest with the Browns. And if you can get someone who has won a Super Bowl, who is coached for almost 20 years in this league, who's won 300 games in this league, to come in and tell you what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong, that is a win. So for that reason, yeah, bring him in. And if his agent is able to leverage the entire world knowing that Jimmy will go full Jimmy.
NFL owners across the league are reportedly losing their minds as John Harbaugh conducts secret negotiations behind closed doors. And it's all centered around one massive question. Can he win with Shedeur Sanders? What Harbaugh's demanding in these secret calls is making some owners furious. And the Browns might be willing to give him everything just to land him. So don't skip a single second of this video. And if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin. This isn't normal. This is power. And you can feel it in the way this whole story is moving, because when you hear preliminary and extensive phone calls, that sounds polite, right? Like some basic interview setup. Like, hey coach, we'd love to talk, we'll send the private jet, let's grab dinner. No, that's not what this is. This is John Harbaugh sitting back in the chair like, before I even step foot in your building, before I even look you in the eye, you're going to answer to me. And I'm telling you right now, that's not coach language. That's not an unemployed man begging for a job. That is a power broker running the entire table. Because think about how the NFL usually works. Owners fire a coach, then they parade candidates through the building like it's a casting call. You walk in, you shake hands, you pitch your vision, you talk culture, you talk leadership, you talk about building something special, and then the billionaire in the room decides if he likes you enough to hand you the keys. That's the script. That's the normal balance. But this is the script getting ripped in half. Harbaugh isn't interviewing. Harbaugh is investigating. He's doing a pre-check, a background check, a vibe check. And he's doing it from a distance, with teams lined up like they're at the DMV, waiting for their number to get called. And the wild part? They're letting him. They're playing along. Because they know exactly who he is. A Super Bowl winning coach, nearly 2 decades of credibility. A guy who can walk into a locker room and instantly the culture shifts because players believe him. Owners know that. GMs know that. Fans know that. And when a coach like that hits the market, whether it's real, whether it's leverage, whether it's smoke, every desperate franchise starts feeling that familiar itch. That itch of, maybe he fixes us. And when that itch hits, logic disappears. Pride disappears. Our process disappears. Suddenly it's, how much you want? Who do you want? What do you need? And that's why this story matters, because this isn't just about Harbaugh taking calls. This is the NFL showing you in real time which franchises are panicking, which franchises feel like they're drowning, which franchises are ready to hand out blank checks because they've got nothing else to sell you. And if you're a fan, you should be locked in, because this affects your team. This affects your future. Coaching is the foundation. Coaching is the difference between a quarterback becoming a star or becoming another what could have been. Coaching is the difference between a locker room buying in or splitting in half by week 6. And when a coach like Harbaugh starts moving like this, choosing who's worth his time, that means he's not just looking for money, he's looking for control. He's looking for alignment. He's looking for a situation that won't waste him. So yeah, it's dramatic, it's secretive, It feels like backroom NFL politics because that's exactly what it is. These aren't normal calls. These are power negotiations where franchises are basically confessing their sins on the phone, trying to convince one man they're ready to change. And here's what I can't stop thinking about. If Harbaugh is this selective, if he's making teams prove themselves before he even shows up, what does that say about the teams begging him? Where does Shedeur Sanders really stand right now? That's the question nobody wants to answer straight, because the truth makes people uncomfortable. You look at the depth chart, and yeah, on paper, he's not sitting on some golden throne. He's in a crowded room. He's in a situation where nothing feels guaranteed, and that's normal for young quarterbacks. But what's not normal is how people talk about him. They're not asking if he can play. They're asking if he can survive, and that should bother you. Because listen to the language around him. It's not, can he develop? It's not, can he grow into the role? It's, can he make it through this? That's not football talk. That's survival talk. That's the kind of talk you use when you already expect the environment to break people. And when a young quarterback is being discussed like that, it tells you everything about the situation he's in. Fans see him differently than the media does. Fans see flashes. Fans see confidence. Fans see a kid who steps in and doesn't look scared. He doesn't play like someone who thinks he doesn't belong. He moves like he believes. And belief matters at that position. You don't accidentally throw tight window passes. You don't accidentally stand in the pocket with pressure in your face. That comes from trust in yourself. That comes from reps. That comes from being built for the moment. But the media, they don't talk about his throws first. They talk about his risk. They talk about the unknown. They talk about whether he's safe to invest in. Safe, like he's a stock, like he's a gamble. And that's the part that feels unfair, because Shedeur didn't create this chaos. He didn't design this situation. He just walked into it. And he's shown you something already. Not perfection, not dominance, but flashes. Moments where you go, okay, there's something there. Quick decisions, tough throws, calm under pressure. That stuff doesn't come from nowhere. But what he hasn't been given is just as important as what he's shown. He hasn't been given stability. He hasn't been given patience. He hasn't been given a system that says, you're our guy, and we're going to grow with you. We've seen this movie before. Think Jalen Hurts early in his career. Think Josh Allen before everything clicked. Think about how many quarterbacks look shaky until the structure finally matched their talent. Quarterbacks don't grow in chaos. They survive it, or they don't. And right now, Shedeur is being judged like someone who's supposed to fight through a storm instead of being developed through a plan. That's why his name keeps coming up in these conversations. Not because he's bad, not because he can't play, but because he represents uncertainty, and uncertainty scares people more than failure does. They don't know what he'll be in this environment. And instead of fixing the environment, they start questioning the player. That's backwards. They're not asking, what does Shedeur need? They're asking, what will Shedeur cost us if this goes wrong? And that changes everything. Because now he's not being evaluated like a quarterback. He's being evaluated like a risk, like a liability, like something that might go wrong if you don't control it perfectly. And when a young player feels that, when he knows he's not being seen as a future, but as a danger, that messes with you. That changes how people coach you. That changes how people talk about you. That changes how patient they are when you mess up. So, yeah, on the depth chart, he's just another name right now. But in the conversation, he's something else. He's a question mark. He's a what if. He's a, can he survive this? And that should make you uneasy. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't being judged like a player trying to grow. He's being judged like a risk people are scared to take. The real problem isn't the quarterback, and I'm tired of pretending it is. Because every time a young QB struggles, the easiest thing to do is point at him and say, he's not it. But the truth is uglier than that. Quarterbacks don't fail alone. Organizations fail them first. Look around the league. You can almost predict which quarterbacks are going to struggle just by looking at where they land. Bad ownership, shaky front offices, new coaches every year, new systems every year, new voices in the headset every year. And then we act shocked when a 22-year-old can't magically fix all of that with his right arm. You can't grow in chaos, you just survive it, or you don't. And that's exactly where Shedeur is right now, not in a perfect lab built for development, not in a patient system that says, you're our future. He's in a place where mistakes aren't just mistakes, they're proof. Proof to some people that you never should have been trusted in the first place, and that's not how you build quarterbacks, that's how you break them. Think about how fast the narrative flips. One bad game and suddenly it's, see, told you. Not, what went wrong around him, not, what help did he have? It's always the quarterback, always the easiest target, because it's easier to blame a face than a system. But history keeps screaming at us. We've seen talented guys go nowhere because everything around them was broken. We've seen teams ruin careers with impatience. We've seen quarterbacks labeled busts just because they were thrown into fires nobody could survive. And then, years later, people look back and go, man, he never really had a chance. That's the path Shedeur is standing on right now. Fans start turning on players when they're really mad at the system. They're mad at ownership. They're mad at bad decisions. They're mad at wasted years. But instead of yelling at the people with real power, they yell at the kid in the helmet. And that's how a young quarterback becomes a symbol for frustration he didn't even create. It's not talent, it's timing. It's not effort, it's environment. It's not the kid, it's the chaos. Say it again, because people need to hear it. It's not talent, it's timing. If you drop a young QB into a mess, his clock speeds up, his confidence drops, his margin for error disappears. It's not effort, it's environment. You can work as hard as you want if the system is broken. Hard work just gets you tired. It's not the kid, it's the chaos. Chaos eats potential. Chaos turns promise into pressure. And Shedeur is being asked to prove himself in a storm that's been knocking quarterbacks down for years. That's not fair, but it's real. Every bad throw becomes evidence. Every rough series becomes a headline, and nobody stops to ask why the storm is still there. Ownership meddles, front offices panic, coaches change, systems reset, and the quarterback is supposed to stay calm while the ground keeps moving under his feet. That's not development, that's survival. So when people say, well, if he's really that good, he'll figure it out, I just shake my head, because even the special ones need something solid to stand on. Even the great ones need structure. Even the toughest ones need belief from the people above them. And here's the heavy truth you can't dodge. If nothing changes around him, no quarterback survives. Not the average ones, not the good ones, not even the special ones. What if this changes everything? I know, that sounds dramatic, but sometimes football really does turn on one moment, one decision, one shift in direction. And for Shedeur Sanders, this could be that moment. Because talent doesn't bloom in storms. It blooms in structure. And right now, the biggest thing missing from his story isn't ability. It's a foundation. Picture what he could look like with the right coach. Not someone just calling plays, but someone building him, teaching him, protecting him from the noise. Someone who doesn't panic after a bad quarter. Someone who doesn't change the whole system every year. That kind of leadership changes lives. We've seen it. We've lived it. Think about what Andy Reid did for Patrick Mahomes. Think about what Sean McVay did for Jared Goff early on. Think about how Nick Sirianni and his staff helped Jalen Hurts grow from maybe into a leader. Those quarterbacks didn't magically become great. They were grown. That's what real leadership looks like. It's not yelling. It's not press conferences. It's building trust so a quarterback can throw without fear. So he can miss a read and not feel like his career is over. So he can grow instead of shrink. And that's what stability does. It gives confidence room to breathe. When you know the system isn't changing tomorrow, you play freer today. When you know the coach believes in you, you stop playing scared. You stop trying to be perfect and start trying to be great. That's when quarterbacks take jumps. Not when they're panicking. Not when they're looking over their shoulder. Give Shedeur a real system. and watch what happens. Give him consistent coaching, clear expectations, and time, and suddenly those flashes turn into habits. Those tough throws become routine. That calm under pressure becomes leadership. He doesn't need to be saved. He needs to be supported. And that's why this moment feels different. Because if a coach like Harbaugh or anyone with real structure and authority steps into this situation, it's not just a new playbook, it's a new environment, it's rules, it's accountability, it's clarity. It's saying, this is how we do things here, and we're not changing it every time something gets hard. Harbaugh wouldn't just be a coach, he'd be a wall, a filter, a system that shields players from chaos and lets them focus on football. That's what structure really is. It's protection. Protection from panic. Protection from noise. Protection from dysfunction. And when quarterbacks are protected, they grow. When they grow, they lead. When they lead, teams change. This is where hope comes back into the story. Because chaos doesn't have to be permanent. Dysfunction isn't destiny. Teams can change. Cultures can flip. Careers can be reborn. We've seen franchises go from jokes to contenders just because the right voice walked into the building. And Shedeur? His story isn't written yet. He's not a finished product. He's not a failure. He's not a bust. He's a young quarterback waiting for the conditions to match his potential. Waiting for the moment when the noise quiets and the work finally matters more than the headlines. So yeah, maybe this is a turning point. Maybe this is the moment where structure replaces chaos. Maybe this is when a young quarterback finally gets a real chance to become what people once believed he could be. Because if the storm finally clears, if stability finally arrives, this could be the moment everything finally changes. This is bigger than one player, bigger than one coach, bigger than one season. What you're watching right now is a franchise staring at itself in the mirror and deciding what it actually wants to be. This isn't just about Harbaugh. This isn't just about Shedeur. This is about identity. Every team eventually has to answer the same question. Are you a place where careers grow or a place where they disappear? Because excuses are easy. You can always blame injuries. You can always blame youth. You can always blame bad luck. But results? Results come from choices, from culture, from how you build, how you protect, how you lead. So I'm asking you straight, do you want excuses or results? Do you want chaos or culture? Because chaos has a look. It's new coaches every few years, new systems every year, new promises every offseason, and the same disappointment every winter. Chaos is when players change, but the story never does. Culture is different. Culture is boring in the best way. Same message, same standards, same expectations. Players come and go, but the identity stays. That's how winners are built. And right now, this franchise is standing at that line. One side is familiar, it's loud, it's dramatic, it's emotional. It's the same cycle everybody already knows. The other side is quiet, disciplined, structured, patient. And that side scares people because it demands real change. Here's my bold prediction. If the right structure comes real leadership, real stability, real protection, Shedeur Sanders is going to shock people. Not because he suddenly becomes someone else, but because he finally gets to become himself. Confidence grows when it's protected. Talent grows when it's trusted. And when young quarterbacks stop playing scared, they start playing free. But if chaos stays, if the noise never quiets, if the system keeps shifting every time things get hard, then history is going to repeat itself. Another quarterback will be blamed. Another season will be wasted. Another what if will get added to the list. That's the truth nobody likes to say out loud. So this moment matters. Every call, every decision, every promise made behind closed doors. Because those choices aren't just about wins and losses. They decide what kind of place this becomes. A destination or a warning sign. And you, as a fan, you're part of this too. You don't just watch, you react, you talk, you push narratives, you decide who gets patience and who gets pressure. You decide whether you blame people or systems. So I want to know where you stand. Drop it in the comments. Do you want excuses or results? Do you want chaos or culture? Because this is a moment. This is a test. This is a chance. Some careers are broken by chaos. Others are built when chaos finally ends.